Hi, everybody. This is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for February of 2019. So this is the Sun and Rising sign horoscope for Gemini. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put your chart up on the screen so that you can see it, and we'll go ahead and dive in. So this month, one of the most powerful transits happening is the transit of Mars in Aries in a square to Pluto in Capricorn, and then it moves straight into a conjunction with the planet Uranus in Aries. This is bringing together the powerful Uranus-Pluto square that's been in effect for a very long time right now. We've been dealing with it for like a decade. And it is culminating because Uranus is finally leaving Aries next month. So this is the last month for Uranus to be in the sign of Aries, and it's culminating through the last anaretic degree of Aries, which is a very powerful degree. Has a lot to do with the key word of the month is catharsis. You're going to see it in the collective and the news, and it'll be in some ways I think it's going to be a very dramatic month, especially right out the gate. Mars in the sign of Aries, moving into a square with Pluto around February 2nd, it perfects. Now, this is between your 11th house and your 8th house. The 11th house is the house of friends and allies, and the 8th house, including groups of people, and the 8th house is a house of death and endings. So what that usually means is that there may be some degree of confrontation or conflict and endings, or greater catharsis and maybe even some healing surrounding friends, social circles, colleagues, or groups that you belong to. The 8th house also has to do with not only death and endings, but also resources that come from other people or other people's loss, like inheritance when people die, or gain that comes from what ancient astrologers called evil motives. So you also have to be careful this month about power plays. The desire to collaborate with people for selfish secret motives, or people trying to convince you, like, come do this with me, I'll make you famous or successful, or just manipulative, social, competitive sort of social dynamics that may be sort of forceful or bullying, and that may not have the best motives. Underneath the surface, there are intentions that are not clear, or that are not, morally in line with your own integrity or your own beliefs. So you want to just be careful of that. Mars square Pluto could also represent some tendency toward defiance and potential for the desire to fight or get into conflicts with friends or within groups. Now, this also could have something to do, the 8th house sometimes will bring up issues around other people's money or resources that could be somehow involved in a part of a conflict or a little bit of a crisis. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's a pretty quick transit, but it is very impactful this month. It shouldn't be underestimated either. Because if you go forward, I'm going to jump around a little bit this month, but if you go forward to the 12th and 13th, Mars will then get into a conjunction with Uranus. And this has that moment of, kind of, it's very electric, and it's very assertive, and it wants to challenge and defy conventions and rules and authority. So it is potentially that you're kind of, something's cooking, some kind of collaboration is cooking this month. New friends or allies are developing. You're having to break the mold or break out of something from the past, like right now, in the NBA, when someone says, I want to trade me right now, or I'll create conflict on the team or something like that. There's maybe a feeling of wanting to force some kind of change or some kind of revolutionary activity happening among friends or within groups that you belong to. It has the potential to be, again, a little bit too forceful. So be careful about burning bridges or just being too assertive or aggressive, and be careful of people who are trying to be bullying or domineering as well. So that you can see now from the 2nd of the month, Mars square Pluto, to the 13th of the month, Mars conjunct Uranus, that it's quite a, it's a powerful, it packs a powerful 1-2 punch. So I wanted to look at those two things first. Now, if we go back in time to February 4th, this is really interesting because then you've got a new moon happening in your 9th house, which is the house of religion, spirituality, long journeys, foreign countries. So I think that the potential for this month to also be about philosophical values and maybe a shift or change regarding religion, spirituality. Maybe you're starting to learn or study something new, or maybe even you feel like you're going to start traveling somewhere. But that's playing a role in the month somehow as well, as the new moon falls in your 9th house on February 4th. When you go forward from there, there's a lot of other transits to pick from. I would call them sort of minor or secondary transits compared to these ones, these that I've already listed. But let's go through some of them anyway. For example, one of the transits that I've really got down for you this month is, bring Gemini back into the first house. So Venus and Saturn are getting together in Capricorn in your 8th house. This has the feeling of a make or break deal or agreement, or of something in relationships around the topic maybe of money or finances being really important. Venus is agreement. Saturn is separation and boundaries. So the two of them coming together, you're either agreeing to terms, clearly defined terms, and possibly deepening a commitment, or you're saying, we're going to agree to disagree. We're going to part ways. We're going to terminate the agreement. And I'm finding another agreement over here. I'm going to another client or something like that. That's why the image of I'm demanding a trade came to mind. Okay, so then when you go into February, that was February 18th, the same day, you've got Chiron entering the sign of Aries and moving into your 11th house, the house of friends, groups, allies, benefactors. So Chiron's the wounded healer. Chiron brings up our baggage, right? And Chiron sort of makes us look at the stuff we don't want to look at. It's very painful, but is also Chiron, in making us look at that kind of stuff and do that healing work, Chiron often brings out a natural set of gifts or skills that we may not know that we even had. So this is coming to bear on the topic of friends and allies and the groups that you associate with, the people that you associate with, especially those that share common dreams or goals. Where is your social life hurting right now? That's an important question. Or what do you stand to learn from allies and friends in your life that maybe you haven't opened yourself up to in the past and now you should? On the other hand, if you choose kind of crummy associations with people, then maybe there's some deeper lessons about choosing better ones. There's a lot of different possibilities here, but something about your social life, your friends, the circles you kind of hang out with, the people you choose as allies, a topic for deep healing. Also, you may start to naturally be an ally for others and bring your natural wisdom to others and to your friendships or to groups that you belong to in the years to come. So I like that Chiron and Aries transit for you. Now, that's on February 18th. Now, on the 19th, here we have a full moon in Virgo in the 4th house, opposite the sun in Pisces in the 10th house, but Mercury, the full moon is in Virgo. The full moon's ruler is therefore Mercury, and Mercury is getting together with Neptune in the career house. I'm giving everybody a little warning about this one because this full moon, while it may look very, very promising on one level, Mercury Neptune can be very enamoring. We can get really attached to big ideas and really wear rose-colored glasses. We can really be deceived by this transit. On the other hand, this can be a moment of, again, the potential for dissolving agreements is there. The potential for the dissolution of something, and for there to be a kind of a critical moment of a crossroads, a decision that has to be made. And we have to be very careful that we're not making it from an overly emotional place, that we're also being as rational as possible. So I think this is a moment where I'm sort of saying, yeah, use your better judgment. Be very careful about making an impulsive or overly emotional decision. And then you can see that on February 22nd, last big transit of the month, something similar is happening. Venus is getting together with Pluto, which also has the power to deeply transform, purge, heal, and resurrect, relationships, but can also kind of tear down relationships in the process. Pluto has the power to purge and release pent-up energy, but in doing so, it can be very destructive. However, in the meantime, Venus's conjunction to Pluto can also signify the empowering of a bond or a relationship, because some creative power is released and enlivened within it. This is happening in the 8th house again, which often has to do with the business agreements we make with other people, or with issues about our shared values or resources. And also, again, may involve endings. So it's an interesting dynamic happening with Venus and Pluto, and I think it kind of coincides with a lot of other themes that are happening in your chart this month that we've talked about. But I would exercise, again, because February is a very tumultuous month, that the main advice I would give, with your ruling planet being in, watery and difficult position, which is Pisces, it's the place of its fall, that you want to be very cautious and careful about how you communicate. The possibility of being miscommunicating, being misunderstood is there, of rushing impulsively to make big decisions. Be careful of all of that. Mercury will turn retrograde next month, and the story will turn again quite dramatically. And Uranus is changing signs again next month too. So it's moving into your 12th house. Can be a place where you make erratic, impulsive decisions that you really regret later. So my caution again this month is to use your better judgment. Be very careful with making bigger, impulsive decisions. There's a lot of moving parts this month. So that's what I've got for you, Gemini. I hope that this was interesting. Please leave your comments for me in the feed, or feel free to email me at nightlightastrology@gmail.com. Okay, that's what I've got. We'll see you next month for March's horoscope. Take care. Bye.